What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao, bringing you the news from here in Taipei. We begin with the latest Chinese incursions. 47 Chinese military aircraft and 7 naval ships were detected around Taiwan in a 24-hour period. Now, the Defense Ministry says 41 of those aircraft breached Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone. That is a buffer zone used for defensive purposes, but is not part of the country's airspace. It's the second highest number of incursions in a single day this year. A former top-ranking officer in Japan's military is taking up a post in Taiwan's cabinet. Iwasaki Shigeru will serve as an unpaid consultant for 1 year. Iwasaki retired from the Japanese Defense Forces as a 4-star general, and he had served as chief of staff. Though Taiwan has hired Japanese military consultants before, Iwasaki will be the highest-ranking officer to serve in that role. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says his country will continue supporting Russia's war in Ukraine. That's according to North Korean state media. His comments follow a meeting in Pyongyang with Russia's top security advisor Sergei Shoigu, where they discussed the conflict. This comes after South Korean intelligence reported in February that North Korea likely sent more troops to Russia after heavy losses on the battlefield. Taiwan may be surrounded by water, but fresh water is in short supply and demand is growing. That's especially true as Taiwan's chip industry has become a backbone of the economy and a major drain on water. Now the industry and the government say they're trying to clean up their act. Chris Gorn reports.
Water. It's the source of much of Taiwan's natural beauty. But Taiwan's water usage is also a major challenge. In 2022, Taipei households used more water per capita than any other capital city in the world. And water is also crucial for Taiwan's most important industry, semiconductors. Chip factories are the largest source of industrial water usage in Taiwan. They also produce vast amounts of wastewater containing elements such as cobalt, copper, and hydrofluoric acid. Taiwan's largest chipmaker, TSMC, says it's working to improve its wastewater recycling, even at a cost.
目前公司的政策是希望在2030年有60% 的一个替代率。现在自来水单价可能约当12块左右，那再生水的可能是会这个的好几倍以上。
The Hsinchu Science Park, where TSMC is headquartered, say they too are working to improve standards.
我们现在的环评的要求，事实上比国家的排放标准来得严苛。我们仍然持续在精进有些处理的设备。
The country's environment ministry is also looking for ways to make better use of wastewater.
废水中有一些资源物能够循环利用的，我们在废水处理过程中来采矿。
Taiwan's water consumption is only expected to increase over the next few years, as officials and industries attempt to find a balance between conservation and economic growth. John Su and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
And to mark World Water Day, we bring you Palauan President Surengo Whips Jr. speaking to reporter Rick Glauert about his country's efforts to conserve its marine environment and respond to the growing impacts of the climate crisis. This is from our interview series, Zoom In, Zoom Out.
You won a second term in office late last year, giving you another 4 years as the country's president. You said you plan to diversify the economy while protecting the environment. How are you going to do this?
When it comes to the ocean, one of the things that we're looking at is how do we optimize the use of those resources, but use them sustainably. So Palau, many years ago, passed the Marine Sanctuary Act, which closed off our EEZ to fishing, 80% of it. And one of the things that we're looking at is, now that we've done studies, how do we ensure that we protect that biodiversity and really go to the optimal goal, which is 30% protected, 100% managed. And that way, the healthy oceans that we have, in turn, combat climate change, but then provide an economy that the people can use. So we got to look at fishing as one area where we can diversify.
You've said Palau, home to 18,000 people across more than 300 low-lying islands, is at risk of drowning due to rising sea levels and climate change. How are you going to face this crisis?
So some of the things that we're doing is, as we build back better, it's moving, for example, infrastructure away from the coast, moving to higher ground. so important for our infrastructure is building those roads, getting access to land so that people that are living along the coast, as their homes age, let's move them inland. One of our biggest challenges that we're facing going forward is our hospital. It's right next to the ocean. The wind shifted so many degrees north and the hospital's all on the first floor, we would have had inundation. And that would have destroyed our surgical ward, everything. And every time we have a storm, we move patients to my office because they're down by the sea. And this inauguration coming up, Prime Minister of Tuvalu and the President Heine of Marshall Islands be here. And those islands have no high ground to go to. We want to ensure that those people continue to live and continue to thrive. And that's why it's so critical that we do everything we can, whether it's Palau and its conservation efforts to combat climate change or renewable energy projects. We encourage the whole planet to do their part, because that's the only way we're going to make it work.
The latest climate summit, COP29, disappointed a lot of people, particularly the fact that wealthier nations seemed unwilling to help poorer nations face up to the climate crisis. How can a country like Palau survive this threat?
It is difficult, but I don't think that's a reason why we should give up. I think it's a reason that we should fight harder to make a difference. And one of the things I just want to share is we had a foreign minister from a very large country in the world come and visit us, and went around and talked about, seawalls need fixed, and we're ready to help. In the end, no help from them. But I have to say that what they can't do, Taiwan has done. And that's really the strength of bilateral relationships. Taiwan is helping us build seawalls. It's helping us build infrastructure to harden those facilities. What we've got to show is we've got to demonstrate that those investments with our partners help everyone.
For the full episode with Palau and President Whips, look for Zoom in, Zoom out on the TaiwanPlus website. Indonesian authorities are on high alert after a volcanic eruption sent a massive cloud of ash and smoke 8 kilometers into the sky. Mount Lewatobi Laki-Laki erupted on Thursday, forcing airlines to cancel nearby flights. It follows significant seismic activity in the area, with dozens of tremors recorded in the week before. Last November, a powerful eruption from that same volcano killed 9 people and forced thousands to evacuate. As the U.S. cuts foreign aid, millions of people around the world are feeling the impact. Among them are Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh who depend on humanitarian assistance. Many are now struggling with food shortages and limited access to medical care. Gino Lopez reports.
This is no ordinary shantytown. It's a refugee camp for Rohingya refugees in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, forced out of their homes in Myanmar nearly a decade ago, after armed attacks targeted this Muslim minority. Since then, they have been largely reliant on international humanitarian assistance. But now, they face another crisis as that assistance disappears. The looming cuts to humanitarian aid follow an order by U.S. President Donald Trump to freeze most foreign aid funding. While no cuts have taken effect yet, the UN World Food Program warns that without additional funding, it will be forced to have food rations from $12 to just $6 per month. The UN Secretary General has criticized the US and European countries for scaling back their aid.
That would be an unmitigated disaster. People would suffer and people would die. I strongly appeal to the international community to allow us to avoid this tragedy.
Aid workers say that any drop in humanitarian aid could have devastating effects on Rohingya refugees, both physically and mentally. The World Food Program warns that it will worsen already rampant malnutrition among refugees and lead to more school dropouts. It says treatment for medical issues will also become out of reach. Refugees are heavily reliant on aid as they are not allowed to work outside their camps. Some here worry that it will also fuel unrest inside.
সুন্দর করে আর সাতজন লই আর দেশ আর ফাটা দিলে না তারা বেশি খুশি হইছে আর ইল্লা হাই না হইছে মারা মর যাই আর হালত তিন দিল হইছে তো এডি দাহাই সুরে বেশি হই যাবে যে আদন গোল ধরিলে একটা খান্না করিব আদন লই যাইব আর দাহাই দি করে আদন সুর করিব এডিকে হারাতে বেশি অত্যাচার হই যাবে.
The cuts are expected to take effect on April 1st. But for the Rohingya stranded in Bangladesh, this means an uncertain future, with even basic necessities becoming harder to secure. Andy Xue and Gino Lopez for TaiwanPlus.
For centuries, sex workers in Japan have toiled in the country's many red light districts. Now, a photographer from inside the industry is shedding light on the hidden history of the profession. Bryn Thomas reports.
Beniko often finds herself wandering the streets of Yoshiwara district, camera in hand. The fading red light district near Tokyo's tourist hotspot Asakusa, once famous for its high-class courtesans, is now telling a different story, one she's capturing in photos.
負の歴史と言われているような場所なんですけれども、ただそこに生きてきた人たちがいて、で暮らす人々がいる。でそこで必死に生きてきた人たちがいるんだっていうことを伝えたいですね。
The struggles are something Beniko knows well. She spent 10 years as a sex worker in the neighborhood.
19歳ぐらいからですね、32歳ぐらいまで風俗店で各地の風俗店で働いていて。
Established during the Edo period in a different location, Yoshiwara was moved to eastern Tokyo after a fire. Although it declined during the Meiji period, interest in the history of Japan's red light districts has grown, sparked by its portrayals in film and anime. Watanabe Go's bookshop caters to these interests.
吉原っていうのは他で唯一の場所なんですよね。で吉原遊郭ができたのが1618年なので、この間の2018年で400年間売春を続けている町。
In contrast to its 16th and 17th century heyday, Yoshiwara is a shell of its former self, with most of the adult industry moving to the nearby, vibrant Kabukicho nightlife district after sex work was outlawed in 1958. Today, most of the area's brothels, like the one Beniko worked in, are operated as bathhouses, or soaplands.
ソープランドっていうのは個室の中で、女性が、男性の体を洗うっていうのが大前提にはなってるんですけど、実態としてはそこで性売買が売春が行われている場所。
By her 30s, years of sex work, seeing up to 10 clients a day, had taken a toll on Beniko both physically and mentally. In extreme pain and wanting to care for her child, she left the profession, got a part-time job, and began learning photography. Now 52, she runs a YouTube channel where she shows her face, a decision which has made her the target of abuse, but also gained her a considerable following.
今自分がなぜ写真を撮っているのかっていうのは、過去のことがあるから、その自分の時間は取り戻せないけれども、風俗を歴史として伝えたいという思いがある。それというのは、自分で顔を出してちゃんと話していかないと説得力がないというか、伝わらないと思ったということですかね。
Beniko's photo books reveal the hidden back rooms of Japan's red light districts. Through crowdfunding, they've raised over $55,000, far exceeding Beniko's original goal of $7,000. Proof that photography can brighten the corners of a personal history while bringing into focus a complex past. James Lin and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
And thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, we head over to Mexico, where they're celebrating the spring equinox at the Pyramid of the Sun. I'm Eric Gao. Take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend.